Another Leathercraft Masterclass live. I'm just waxing some string here because I'm going to be working on the first prototype in the new bag design course that I've created. Part 1 is out now, so this is going to be for the second part. And just going to wax this string, and then I'll show you what I've done so far. It's got some 432 thread, fil chinois. And just waxing helps stitch a little bit more evenly and prolongs the lifespan. So this is what I've got so far. So this is going to be a basket style bag. There will actually be like an internal pocket compartment, like a drawstring compartment inside there as well. So this is the outside. This is just an elastic strap which helps with stitching as I'm going. But eventually there will be straps going through these parts here. That up a little bit. Yeah, so that's just to hold it together. It will eventually look something like this. Now this isn't going to hold the proportions of leather. This is a kind of stage 1 prototype of the idealized pattern. This is made of craft foam, so this will eventually look like it, but hold very slightly differently to craft foam. Okay, so that's in there. Got my thread. If anybody has any questions at any point, feel free to ask. So I'm going to be stitching this piece in very shortly. It's going to move you guys back a little bit more. That's good. Joe Style, hello. Thanks for stopping by. So I'm just going to do 3 little locks in here. Piercing the thread. It's cold in the workshop today, and you can tell sometimes because the wax is a bit more brittle. I have put the heating on. It's getting up there. But I've been out of the workshop all day, so it's winter is edging ever closer. Okay, so I got my 2 awls. So I made these prick marks in here with a particular iron that I have. It's a modern pricking iron. I don't think it has a brand. I got it some time ago from one of the kind of the regular Chinese websites, but it's interesting because it's a 3.838 millimeter iron, but it has really wide prongs. Difficult to see on there, but it's like it has a very vintage style to the look of it, which I particularly like. But I think I bought it. I think they do sell a 2-tooth and a 4-tooth, but I just got that just to kind of test it out, and I never bothered getting the 2-tooth, but I probably should have. Anyway. Around the corners, the internal and external corners on this design, I had to kind of heal the pricking iron. So I'm going around the corner on the back end of the prongs. So they're marked, but there's no hole through there from the pricking iron itself. The rest of it, all the straights are prick marked all the way through. So I just have to finish off going through the lambskin interior as well. Okay, so that's on the straight. Oh, no, I went through the wrong one. I left a space for a back stitch, but I'm not doing that on this. It needs to go in the last hole that had the previous piece of thread on there. There we go. The joys of going live. So this first part's a bit awkward. So the design on this one is quite simple in many ways. I've not made it too complex. It's actually a whole cut. So the exterior, the base, the panels, the gussets are all one piece. You can see a buildup of wax on there when it's cold. I don't know why it does that. Well, I do know why it does that. It becomes brittle and it flakes instead of molds. So just equalizing up. Apologies, guys. This is the stuff that I normally edit out of my courses. A bit more. There we go. And we can pull that in tight and continue on. So I'm doing an arm span worth of thread, starting at the bottom, stitching around, and then back down, and then finishing, and then starting a new line, etc., etc. Heat. Laugh out loud. I'm from Arizona. We haven't had to turn on the heat on yet. Low is only in the lower 60s. If I remember my Fahrenheit correctly, that's mild. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to use my other awl. Where is my other awl? There is my other awl. Sometimes when you use a pricking iron to go all the way through, the holes aren't fully opened up, or they kind of heal. Leather has a bit of a spring back to it after a while. So, and when it grips the thread tightly, sometimes it can follow the direction of twist, and then you get a whole lot of twisting. It doesn't tend to happen when you use an awl. So sometimes, even though I've pre-pricked all the way through, I'll take a round awl like this, just to help me guide my left needle in on the lambskin, which is virtually invisible on this side, but it also opens up the hole just enough so it doesn't really grip the thread firmly and try and impart a twist, which inevitably ends up in knots, which are rather annoying. So this helps with those two things. Hello, Mr. Leather. Hello. Good afternoon from Portugal, says Tiago. Joe Style said, it's good not to see perfect workmanship every time. That's about 16 degrees. Yeah, 16, yeah, it's pretty mild. Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is. Well, it's currently 16 in here, exactly 16 degrees. But I have just put the heating on. So it's warmed up a little bit. Outside, I don't know. Alexa, what's the temperature outside?
At the moment, it's 14 degrees Celsius.
14, that's not too bad.
You can expect a low of 11 degrees.
Lows of 11. Yeah, it was about 14 degrees when I came in here. It's, for a work environment, I consider that cool. So yeah, stitching this lambskin on. And I've gone for a lot of it out of convenience because it was the right thickness, but I do actually like this color combination, which is like an olive drab color with the tan. Has a bit of an autumny vibe to it, which I find pretty cool. Almost pumpkin-like. That season has certainly been and gone. Thanks, Phil. You got my Alexa to chime in. I should do it again, but this time shout loudly, set an alarm for 3 a.m. Tiago says, have you seen the new material called mycelium? It's a leather substitute made from mushrooms. I'm not a fan of it. Thing is, the only reason I'm not really that interested in leather alternatives is because it's not, it's a bit like being a petrol head and only being interested in electric cars. It doesn't really, I have a mild interest in leather alternatives. Someone sent me some pineapple leather alternative once. I was going to do a review on it, and it was like the worst thing I'd ever seen as an excuse for leather. It was like just a fibrous compressed mat with like a plastic coating on one side. It was awful looking. It was not good. But yeah, I have heard of it. Yes, it's some kind of fungal leather. Doesn't sound that appetizing. I prefer my mushrooms right next to my bacon, egg, sausage, and hash browns, to be honest with you, rather than faux leather goods. If I want to work with a material that isn't leather, I'd work with fabrics or canvas or any number of natural alternatives. You can even work with birch bark. I think it has to be treated a certain way. That's quite interesting. Cork would be another one. But fungus leather, no, I don't. Mushroom leather. Made in a lab. Yeah, no. I haven't yet seen an alternative, but then again, I'm not really looking for one. It's like finding the love of your life and then still looking at other options. It's like, if it's the one, right? I'm using wax thread. Do I still need to wax it? Hello from Turkey. Generally speaking, if it's a polyester or synthetic that's waxed, usually not. Sometimes I even find they come too waxed, and because wax doesn't really grip it very well. Because synthetics are usually quite slick, they have a low friction coefficient anyway. So generally speaking, for synthetics, no. If it's a waxed thread that you've got made from linen or flax linen, like Fil Chinois or Barber or many other brands, then they don't tend to come overly waxed. There's a kind of a hint of wax. I would say test it out. If you're having issues with it and it's not smooth, and as you're pulling it through, it sounds really dry. And you'll know what I mean. It's you pull it through and it has a very harsh sound as it reverberates through the leather. Then you might want to add a little bit more wax. Aids in longevity, waterproofness or water resistance, and just gives you a smoother stitching experience. So yeah, most of the time I do. I mean, this is technically wax thread, but it doesn't feel waxed at all. So if you have a flat style of thread, you're saying it's important that you keep it straight so it looks neat in the stitch holes. For a flat braided polyester, it shouldn't really do that because it's not cabled. So what I'm talking about is if you have a hole in leather and the leather is very tight, it's almost like if you take your fingers and hold it tightly, see if it actually works. As I pull through, you can see a twist begin to come up. Can you see that? It's really starting to, and the more I go, the more it's twisting on itself, like over twisting a propeller aeroplane. So let it unravel. But if I relax my fingers and have a light grip and do the same thing, can you see that it's not twisting? You have no idea how happy I am that demonstration actually worked out, but I guess it's physics is physics. But that's what's happening when you pull through stitch holes that are too tight. It grips the thread, and then it wants to follow the natural spiral. Because if you look at a thread, you can see a directional spiral like a screw, and it will follow that. So sometimes stitching with an awl just opens it up. Would that happen to braided polyester? Let's try. I doubt it. Let's get some really brightly colored stuff. So this technically wouldn't have a twist to it. So if I pinch hard, it's not really creating a twist. And obviously if I relax my fingers, it doesn't create a twist. So yeah, you don't need to do that trick for braided poly, like tiger thread, I guess. But anything that's cabled, it tends to do that. And I think for a lot of people, they're thinking, oh, that it's doing that because it needs more wax, and they keep adding more and more wax as if it's going to help, and it doesn't. But they're trying to stitch through maybe thick leather that they haven't used haven't used an awl with. They've only used a pricking iron, and that leather heals, and that hole becomes just a little bit too small. You see people doing it all the time where they're having to use pliers to pull their needles through. If you need to do that, maybe on like a back stitch or something in thick leather, but if you're needing to use pliers or you're trying to pull your needles through and you keep slipping on your fingers, the holes are just too tight and you're not going to have a good stitching experience, but you're also going to get a lot of knots forming, and that doesn't get better over time or with more wax. I mean, obviously experiment yourself and find your own conclusions, but that's what I have experienced personally. Do you get morel where you are? I lived in Michigan for a long time and do not get them in Arizona. Are you talking about morel mushrooms? I take it. I'm not a mushroom expert, unfortunately. Even if I was an expert, the amount of mushroom experts that end up dying by poisoning themselves accidentally eating the wrong mushroom is enough to make me go, you know what? Supermarket mushrooms are okay. I'm okay with that. I'm all right. But or truffles. Yeah, if I found a truffle, I'd probably eat it. Talking of knots, I've got this weird little knot on the little lock stitch. I can't say I've ever done that before. I'm going to cut that one. Yeah, of course, I had a 50% chance of cutting the right side, and of course I cut the wrong one. The rule of life, what can go wrong will go wrong. Should have enough thread on that side. And then let's wax that in because I haven't made it too long. It doesn't skive. You can't glue a pattern on top of it. It seems too much trouble. It looks nice, but so does cordovan or other marbled leathers. Yeah. And now it's a good tip. I need to widen the holes a little bit. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even if the holes are a little large to begin with, you always tap down your stitches and it compresses the leather around the stitch anyway. So there's no point in having really tight stitches unless, and we're not like physically pulling them in tight, but the leather is really tight around the thread, because you're going to finish them off with a good hammering at the end of the day. Move this forward a bit. Welcome to the Mushroom Masterclass. In this episode, is it Keps or Chanterelle? Which will try out. Let's take it to the bench. Yes. Imagine that would be a really difficult one legally to do a masterclass on, and which mushrooms to pick. You're responsible for the death of people who got the nuance wrong. Sometimes, although I do enjoy mushrooms, I buy a pack weekly. Usually I'm a bit of a basic bitch when it comes to mushrooms. Just chestnut mushrooms and I'm done. Nothing fancy, it's all good. But I want to, like some things in life, you wonder who the first person was to look at like a mushroom, and that's just a weird looking, unidentifiable alien from outer space, and thought, you know what, I could eat that. It's like the first person who ate a lobster or something like that. So we all think it's perfectly normal now, but if it was the first time you ever saw something, you wouldn't think, that would go nicely with some champagne. A little truffle butter. I think you need to be starving or yeah, that's why. The corners, I didn't go all the way through. Depends how hungry they are. Well, yeah, if it's a survival thing. You're not going to be too fussy, are you? Yes, good point. All right, so as I go around this corner, I'm not going to be able to use the clams very effectively, so I'm going to have to stitch it upright on the table. See how we go with that. Move this over here. Move you guys down a little bit. Yeah, mushrooms and steak. I love mushroom steak in a baguette. A little filet mignon, onions and mushrooms, and a little Dijon mustard or English mustard. Always makes for a fantastic steak sandwich. Don't know what I've done there. I've gone around the support. Forgot to feed that through. Let's try that again, shall we? Axel Ray 67 says, hi, how's it going, buddy? Phil, have there been a few new LV books out from Asulin? Have you seen any? Well, they have been, sorry. Things a bit far away. Hey, Stephen. Not that I've seen, but I haven't been looking. If you have I haven't seen any. If you have a link to them, shoot me a link on message. Be interested to see. I think, were you talking about that recently? I think you may have been. One of my favorite authors has done a few books for LV. And his name escapes me. Nicholas Falks. He's a very interesting character. He's got his own channel that he does with his son on cigars, because he's a big cigar smoker. I've got one of his books on cigars as well. But if ever you get to Harrods and you go in downstairs to the bookshop, they have a few books by him. He's done some on watches as well. Hilarious guy, absolutely hilarious. Very eccentric English gent. But he has a wicked sense of humor. Have I ever made a suit carrier? I haven't, to be honest. No, I haven't. It'd be a rather big project to make in leather. I can imagine it would be quite heavy if you made it from all leather. Usually they're made from like nylon or canvas, aren't they? Be nice to make one with like leather trim or something. Oh, you literally said, I fancy trying one with canvas and leather trim. Yeah. I mean, if you made it from like a lightweight Napa leather with maybe a fabric lining on the inside, that wouldn't be too heavy. But yeah, I would. Canvas and leather trim sounds nice. Be nice with a very sporting style tweed suit. Kind of feel the rustic. Why is my like skin gone super white when I go close? Maybe it's this light. Maybe I should turn that off. Is that a little bit better? And still, like, it does something weird to my face. Hasn't done that before. No, that wasn't it. So I will turn the light back on. There was one on trunks in Japan, and from Louis Vuitton. That might be a story sort of book. Interesting. Trunks in Japan. I mean, I've got one of their books on trunks. It's one of my favorite kind of like coffee table books. It's epic. Was it like a thousand Louis Vuitton's 1001 or 101 trunks or something like that? But it's really cool because they have all these like little, almost like not pop outs in between pages, but they'll have like a label that pops out in between the pages or some kind of postcard, and it's really cool. It's a really interesting book. I don't know if you have that one. Probably. You're a bit of a collector, aren't you? Roland says, hi, hello. Is it hard to make a wallet? I think that would really depend on your level of experience and the complexity of the wallet that you're making it from and the type of leather. I mean, if you're making a very simple T-slot style wallet with vegetable tan leather or something, then it's not going to be too complex. If you're making something a bit more complex, like this, for example, this is a zip wallet, and it has folded slots in there. There's compartments on the inside, compartments on the back of this one, a zip, and the zip comes with its own gusset as well, and it's all fully lined. There's no flesh side. Something like this, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to make for a lot of people. But if you want like a simple card holder or something, this is one of the courses, by the way, a simple card holder, which is also in the courses, that would be a lot easier to begin with. So try something that's not too over the top, not too audacious, and you'll be okay. Just get something practical. Start kind of within your means. And when I say within your means, within what you think will be relatively easy to do, because sometimes it turns out to be more complex than you think. And the last thing you want to do is start cutting into a load of leather and you get a bit unstuck with it. So by the way, did you know that lobster was prison food in the old days? I'd be committing crimes if that was the case. It was considered beneath rich people to eat them. How the times have changed. I've heard of it like as peasant food. It was traditionally peasant food, as was a lot of kind of crustaceans. It was considered quite cheap food. I think oysters were in the same boat, and scallops and things like that, because it was easy for people to go along to the shore and get, crabs and whelks and all sorts of sea creatures. I think even my mum, when she was young, she remembers going along to the seashore and they'd get pieces of bacon on the end of string and then stick it in certain areas they thought it might be crabs. And when they feel something, they slowly pull it up and they got a crab for dinner. Lobster, though, that would be somewhat harder to catch, I can imagine. Same was said of corned beef, proper corned beef. Now the price of it would make you cry. You know what? I haven't had corned beef for years. No, that's my dad recently invited us around and made a corned beef pie, which I was kind of like, this is going to be interesting. It was actually really good. Yeah, no, it was the last time I had corned beef. That was a few months ago. But before that, probably my childhood. I've never bought it in my life. Same with Spam. I don't fancy Spam. Strangely enough, there are some countries absolutely love Spam. It's like a huge thing. I think like South Korea, Hawaii, I think even in Japan. I think it was from the wars where kind of got that influence, but yeah, never fancied it. Reconstituted meat just ain't my thing, unless it's a sausage. Then I'll I don't mind a banger or two. Yeah, sausage and burgers the exception, I guess. Spam, eggs and spam. Is that from a song, isn't it? Philippines as well, yeah. And I think anything with the United States. I think even the UK had got a load of spam as well. I think even Winston Churchill thanked America for spam in World War II at the end of it. He didn't say he liked it. He said he didn't hate it, which is like the most British way of saying you liked it. Yeah, I think I watched something on spam recently there's a YouTube channel of a couple of English guys that go around different places eating stuff called Jolly. I think they did one with Jason Momoa, whatever his name is, and they were talking a lot about spam, and it's kind of how I knew that. Oops. Spam and powdered egg mix. Oh, yeah. Fresh from the land. Yeah. Powdered eggs. That is a very wartime meal, I think. I've never tried it. I tried knowingly. And probably I've stayed in a hotel or two in the past that served powdered eggs, scrambled eggs for breakfast, and not known it. Maybe I just thought it tasted weird. All right, so coming to the corner now, let's make sure I've pricked those holes all the way through. There's one, and that one's done. And now I can put it back in the clams in a second. Make it a bit easier to stitch because it does move around a bit as I'm stitching it. But it's doable. Okay, the last one here. Now I can stick it back in the clams. Finish off that seam. I think this is going to look quite nice once the straps are in. Oh, Monty Python skit. That you know, for a Brit, I never got into Monty Python. A lot of people like it. Maybe I should revisit it. I haven't seen the film since I was quite young, I think. I think the only scene that ever made me really laugh as a kid was that Julius Caesar or something like that, Biggest Dickus. But then again, that's like schoolboy humor anyway, so kind of fits. I think it's these centurions or whatever trying not to laugh that was the funniest part. What's your favorite use of cow suede? 1.2 to 1.8 millimeters thick. It's very specific. That would be if it was kind of closer to 1.2 millimeters. They make really good linings. I mean, you wouldn't want to put it in a bag where you have the opportunity to spill much in it, but because it's quite hard to clean. But in the inside of cases is really nice, kind of like English briefcases, flap style briefcases, attaché cases, a suede lining is gorgeous. That might be getting a little bit thick for that, but a loose lining in a regular English style briefcase would probably be my preferred use of that. 1.8 millimeters, it started to get a little bit thick on that range. I tell you, I wouldn't use thick suede for a whole lot. To me, it makes excellent linings, but I wouldn't necessarily make a bag out of thick suede. Mainly because it's hard to clean. When it gets wet, it can look pretty bad. It's difficult to keep waterproof, especially when it gets dirty. Harder to clean, easier to stain. But it is nice. Like I do like suede shoes, though I've never owned a pair. I've always liked them, but it's just thought that's going to be a pain to clean. I don't know how I've accidentally done this, but I've pierced the elastic strap. Go through this if I can pull that through. Oh no, I've pierced it twice. How have I done that? Literally the strap. The elastic strap that I put through just to support it. Oh, I'm going to have to cut the strap. I can't cut that side again. Oh, for God's sake. What is going on with these lives? As soon as you press go live, all the leather demons come out to play and plague you whilst you're working away. Stuff that you would never do, maybe because I'm distracted. It's not my fault, it's your fault. It's your fault. I don't even know how I did that. There we go. Dun, dun, dun. Like the dark side, the dark night and the 3 questions to cross the bridge. Was that the Holy Grail? Yikes, good luck with that, yeah. It's just some cheap elastic. I use this and, just to go through there. I can lift it to get my hand into stitch, but when I relax it, at least it's holding these together. Otherwise, the whole thing would sag under its own weight. So I thought these elastic. I think I bought this from like the pound shop, dollar store equivalent, for something completely different, but has come in handy for this. It's good for holding things together while they dry, especially if you do any molded work. Like the base of this bag is actually been wet molded into that corner shape, so it holds it. I do that more than I like to admit. Yes, the Holy Grail. So I'm stitching this particular one, this particular bag, seam on the bag, without a cast. Now you will see the inside of the bag, but there will be like a drawstring pouch in it, which I'm going to be aiming to make from leather. Remember, I haven't got everything figured out on this bag because the course that I'm filming for this bag is me figuring it all out so that you can see how I do what I do. So this isn't a, do this and you'll have this outcome kind of course. This is one for people that want to get into bag design or leather goods design in general. It's not just about bags. And the process of coming up with ideas, where to get ideas, basic sketches, working on measurements, pattern creation, pattern testing and prototyping, and that kind of thing. So a lot of this is up in the air. I have the intention of testing out some soft cream leather. It's actually designed for bag lining, some cream leather as a drawstring, but I have to test it out to see at that thickness whether the leather will actually fold in as you pull the drawstring tight, to see if it's resistant. And then I'll be testing whether or not I need to skive those edges to thin them out. Will it still resist or will it actually fold nicely? So this is all stuff I'll be working out, but you will be able to see the tops of the bag and the stitching. So I started out intending on having a cast, so there's angles to the stitching on both sides. However, when I started doing this, for whatever reason, I was really not getting much of an angle on the front, but there was a decent angle on the back, and on the rear side it's a soft lambskin. So sometimes when you stitch in dissimilar materials or leathers, in this case one firm, one soft, sometimes you get an outcome you don't quite expect. My prediction would be I would get good angles on the side that's stiffer and less angle on the side that's softer, because the softer side will yield a little bit more. But it was the exact opposite. So sometimes you really have to kind of test these things out to see. So I redid the seam, but this time I'm not doing a cast on the stitches. So we'll get straight stitches on the inside and angle stitches on the outside. And I'll show you the inside in a minute. I'm coming to the end of the seam here. so you'll see what it looks like a little bit more. I have a fair amount of suede that I've been considering for purse exteriors, but quilted a little. Yeah, that would look quite nice. I'm not sure what else to use it for though. Linings, I find, I mean, I got a suede. This is a suede lining here. This is in turquoise, which I think is actually a really nice color combo for this. I'm not going to use it though. I think it's a little bit too much. It looks a lot more vibrant and fluorescent on the camera though. It's a little lighter than what you're seeing there. Same with this. It's literally glowing. I had that there. I was just discussing it on a live yesterday. Yeah, I like suedes for linings because they're incredibly soft and they compress very well. Even when you stick suedes, thick suedes onto firm leather and fold it, you'll rarely ever see creasing in suedes. It just compresses and conforms very, very well. And it's one of the virtues of it. However, you know, if you do spill something in there, it's not going to look great. But if you have dark suedes, if I was going to do a suede exterior for a bag, which is quite nice, I would mix it with polished leathers for certain parts to make it pop a little bit and give it a bit more dimension to the design, especially in high wear areas or areas that get a lot of rubbing. Like I wouldn't necessarily make suede handles because they'd look really bad in no time, especially from the oils that build up from your hands in there. It would start looking like almost polished leather in places, which might be your thing. But I would use darker leathers. Darker leathers work well with suede. If you have a light colored suede and you want to have it for, you know, anyone who's had light colored suede shoes, you know how much of a pain it is to keep those clean. So same with bags and where it scuffs and wears. I don't necessarily think suede is like, you know, undyed veg tan leather. It doesn't look better with time. It doesn't kind of like, oh, look, it's a beautiful story of places it's been. And, you know, I get the romance behind that. But with suede, I don't think it looks, but I think the best suede ever looks is day one, minute one. But that could be said of many chrome tan leathers, to be fair. But I mean, some people might find it quite nice. Kind of something aged, an aged suede. But they're difficult to treat as well. I mean, you can't just stick a little wax or conditioner on them. They have their own products. But they're generally going to be chrome tan, so they shouldn't require too much maintenance anyway. I was planning on using the bottom of the bag, handles, and the straps to be either pebble grain or English bridle. I think a pebble grain would be nice. It'd be good to maybe just pair them up side by side together and maybe make a strap and stitch it on. You can see what the stitching looks like in context. But I find with suede, because it's so matte, it absorbs and refracts light or whatever you want to call it really well. It kind of goes nicely with something that reflects light and makes the whole thing pop a little bit more, especially if you have like a turned bag that you've stitched inside out and you flip it and you have that piping around the outside, like a suede bag, but with that bridle leather piping, because it frames the whole thing and gives you context. You notice the white balance on this is really weird. I haven't changed anything in my camera settings. It's doing something so odd. I'm gonna have to take a look at the Instagram settings. Well, I can't gesticulate as well as I could. Yeah, but suede bags, like a suede weekender. It looks really cool, really cool. But like a dark brown, navy, Burgundy would be nice. A deep burgundy, yeah. I just for exteriors, I wouldn't go anything like tan. Personally, it's just personal. So coming over. Or a suede bag with a shiny leather French seam on the top. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have tan suedes. You know what, man? Just go for it. I mean, I haven't dabbled with it, but I know that you can get suede dyes quite easily. I think you may, I mean, it's chrome tan, it'd be fine. You may have to wash the leather in water afterwards to get most of the dye out after it's done its job. But you can dye suedes if you want to try that. But if not, like, do what makes you happy, man. It's if you've got it in a thicker substance, it's mainly going to be exteriors that it's good for. But thinner, definitely linings. In fact, there's my local Tesco, which is near here actually. There's a Timpson's, which is like, you know, where you get your, like a cobbler, we can do your shoes and get your keys cut and buy Zippo lighters and that kind of thing. I've seen on the shelf there, they have suede dyes. Is it Dylan? Dylan that makes suede dyes? I think so. Talking of dye, this I gifted someone this, and unfortunately it was in a handbag, and some kind of facial serum soaked into it. So this is in the workshop for a repair job, and checking the ingredients on it's high in acids, whatever this serum was. So I need to find a way of neutralizing that, seeing if I can get some of that out, and then matching the color with leather dye, dyeing the whole exterior, and then refinishing it. So yeah. Heartbreaking, but things happen. Things happen. How we deal with our problems that make us who we are. I didn't cry for long. It wasn't for long. Maybe 3 or 4 hours, but that was it. 3 or 4 hours of ugly crying, and then it was okay. This is why a lot of my work I keep in storage. Dyeing suede is a pain. I've done it, and you need to recondition the suede so it regains its softness. Yeah, I think if you're using alcohol dyes, I don't know. I mean, I haven't done it, but I know alcohol dyes are really going to dry it out. But I don't know if you could just get a suede dye that is kind of water-based or something other than alcohol, which really dries it. But suede inlays are nice. Yeah. What lining material would you associate with London, and what we associate with New York as a theme? Well, I mean, if you look at a lot of the makers, the bridal makers in London, for things like attaché cases, it was always what they would call it skiver. Well, it's exactly what's in here. It's a thin pigmented sheepskin that you would glue on to the inside, because sheepskin isn't the most durable of skins. But once you glue it to something, it kind of takes on the strength of whatever is underneath it, with be it that bridal leather or caseboard or some kind of other firm material for reinforcement and structure. But they would generally have a fully pigmented surface, which means if you spilt something on it, you're protected a little bit, and you can wipe it clean with a damp cloth if you need to. Another one was they would use on the inside of English cases and bags was what you would call Morocco. Now today you would call Morocco goatskin, or chèvre if you're French, and that would be along similar lines, but just a little bit more durable, and usually a finer grain of Morocco, for not something heavily textured, but for quite fine. Again, with a pigmented or finished surface that you could wipe clean. That was on a kind of like more premium stuff. But Skyver or sheepskin was particularly popular for that reason, but with some kind of finish, they wouldn't leave it unfinished. What would I associate with New York as a theme for linings? Other than buffalo crossing the border from Canada, I've never actually been to New York, certainly not New York City. I really don't know. I mean, I'm not familiar with a ton of American brands and their styles. More kind of British and European. Familiar with that. That would be a hard one. I mean, a lot of what styles in America, much like food, has been very much made their own over time and changed. But a lot of it was based on Europe, or ideas that came from Europe and then changed and kind of Americanized. So I guess, you know, what America is good at is like taking, like with their beer, for example, taking the best of different European countries and making something completely new and different with that, with something that's already proven. So, you know, you could take inspiration from British leatherwork and French and Italian and kind of like make the best of everything, like a Jeet Kune Do of of leathercraft. So yeah, it's the New York, I don't know, as a theme. Dylan, yeah. Dylan dies. Wrecked my washing machine. I have used Dylan dyes for stuff before, but I put gloves on and do it in the sink. I don't do it in the washing machine. Although even on the ones it says do it in the washing machine, like things that I use for, like Nick Wax is one of my favorites, waterproofer for fabrics, which I used recently on the Cotswold carryall for the tweed, which I put on the exterior of the bag. And this is like you put it in the washing machine, and it like no way am I putting that in the washing machine. It can make my washing machine waterproof. Yeah, it's but dyes. Oh no. Lesson learned, don't give her any more nice stuff. It might be easier to dye a darker color to hide the stain for the zip wallet. That's what I'm thinking. I'll have to go back into the courses again to see if I actually finished this with Resolene. I can't remember if I finished it Resolene or bag coat, because Resolene, I'm going to need to take that Resolene layer off with something harsh like acetone. I'd probably try alcohol first on a test and see if that does it. Bag coat will be quite easy because that would just be alcohol. That's and it's not particularly shiny, so I think I did use bag coat, but this is shellac based, and that would be I could undo that with alcohol, which will dry the leather out less. I mean, it is chrome tan, so it's going to be more resilient. But at the end of the day, it's I don't know. I got to find some time to do some testing to see. But yeah, that's good. There's no way I can get that stain out because it's not a stain, it's a chemical reaction. So unless I can get the rest of it to have some kind of chemical reaction. It's a bit like when you partly like burn your shoulders or something in the sun, and then you're like putting lotion just on the bit that you burn, hoping that the rest of you can tan and even it out, and it never works. Yeah. There we go. So I'm going to do a little overlock on here. Lock that in place. I'm just basically casting twice. Once, twice, 3 times. And then before I pull that in fully, I'm just going to add a little white glue. So I'm kind of ending the seams and then starting a new one right underneath. Where have you gone? Where have you gone? I tell you what, I'd lose my own head if it wasn't screwed on. All right, there it is. Found it in the end. What's your favorite leather to work with? Ask me on a different day, you'll probably get a different answer. Yeah, that. Ostrich. Ostrich is nice. One of the easiest and most consistent to work with is probably goat skin. Calf is nice to work with. Veg tan has its thick veg tan, and bridal leather has its own advantages as well. But overall, there's something I find quite captivating about ostrich leather. It's not just because it's exotic, because it's quite unusual, quite different, but it works quite nicely as well. Usually a softer leather, it requires a little finesse, you know, to finish the rear side, the flesh side. But it's not something obvious like alligator, which is cool, or crocodile. Those are fun, but there's something about ostrich that I find really elegant. Stingray skin is another one. That's often, I've often mentioned that as one of my favorites to work with. That's, again, a very challenging skin to work with. Requires a bit of skill to do so nicely, but it's tell you what, anything that I've ever made out of stingray skin has always been the thing that a stranger or someone that you meet will remark about. I've made like that stingray wallet that I did for the courses a while back. Anytime that I go somewhere, not every time, but a lot of the time I go somewhere, I go to pay for something, and they'll mention something about it. Like, what is that? Or that looks really interesting, or that's cool, or I've never seen that before, or oh, I've seen that before, is that, you know, blah, blah, blah. It always strikes up a conversation. It's always a showstopper. Way more than alligator, ostrich, anything else. Because I guess because it's so unusual. And you see fake crocodile and ostrich everywhere. but it's rare that you really see well done, you know, especially unsanded fake stingray. Okay. How are we looking? Good. So this is the one that I just did. So that's the exterior. I still haven't tapped down the stitches yet. So they need to be tapped down. I'll do that at the end. But the inside, you can see it's straight. There's no angle to it. You see that? Yeah. So I haven't done a cast on it because it just, on the front, it just looked very straight along the front. So I kind of undid it all, took out the cast, and now there's a nice angle, or at least there will be. Once this is tapped down, it will look really nicely. Look really nicely? Look really nice. I've seen it happen in women's clutches where a fragrance bottle has broken. The acid changes the color. Yeah, it reacts with it. It really does, unfortunately. Kevis View says, hello. What do you think about kangaroo leather? You know what? I can't remember if I've worked with that. I don't think so. I know that you can get it in the UK now. There are some suppliers who import it, but I mean, apparently it seems very tough. It kind of has a very much, it kind of reminds me of goat skin a little bit, if I could say that it looks like one particular leather over another. And goat skin is quite durable anyway. But if I was making something, I guess, that required a lot of tensile strength, I might go for that. But no, I haven't really worked with it. One day I'd enjoy watching you work with simple American English bridal leather in inverted commas. Is it quite different? I can't say I've worked with it. I think Wicket and Craig has a, or as we'd say, Wicket and Craig has an English bridal. I mean, it's pretty much just waxed veg tan. It's just made in a very traditional way, and there's not many of them left, so it has a bit more of a romantic association to it. But yeah, it's pretty much just hand stuffed and hand finished wax leather. There is a missing pen around somewhere that doesn't have a lid. Working on a pair of women's clutches in amethyst crocodile, oddly enough. Christmas sales. Nice. Amethyst. So that would be like a nice, kind of like a purpley color, wouldn't it? It'd be, yeah, that'd be quite nice. Don't do a lot of, I have some skins in purple, but I don't do a lot of purple work. I believe I have a few pieces of stingray I was planning on making into part of a wallet. Yeah. And when you use it, you'll see a lot of people will be like, what the hell is that? They've never seen anything like it. Because it doesn't look like leather, does it? I mean, even though it is, it's kind of like teeth on skin. It's weird. Love kangaroo, sturdy and versatile. I should probably get a couple of skins and do something with it, really, shouldn't I? Yeah, it seems a little softer, in my humble opinion, almost squidgy and waxy. Oh, okay. Interesting. No, bridal is usually like wood almost. Well, not like wood, obviously, but yeah. Let's go. Is what left of a back of true English bridal. It's, you know, it's quite firm. This has no give whatsoever to it. It's very much like what you imagine a flexible board would be like. Let's put that back. I've got that in Australian nut brown as well, which is really nice. It has a very slight tinge of red to it. Said hi. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks for joining in. I'm probably going to do, I don't know if I'll do it today. Let's see how I get on. I might do another Instagram live finishing this off. And see if I have the white balance issue. I don't know what's going on with it. It's not my phone. It's really weird. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. And for anybody brand new watching this at a later date, don't forget to go to leathercraftmasterclass.com and get your free video on how to hand stitch. If you're new to Leathercraft, it's an essential one to get. But anyway, thanks a lot for joining me, guys, and all the questions, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.